Inviting, identical, government-supplied housing, like the three-bedroom house David lived in on York Street, which backed up onto the railway yard. David's weatherboard house was grim from the outside, and life on the inside of it was even grimmer. David's mother, Marjorie, and three of his older siblings, sisters Margaret and Louise and brother John, lived in the house along with his younger brother Bruce. David's father, Lewis Williams, had abandoned the family when David was very young, and David had no memory of the man. Yet he was aware of the fact that in the house there was often little to eat at mealtimes, and he usually went to bed feeling hungry. As well, the house brimmed with extra people, either visiting or staying for indefinite periods of time. And one of the things his mother and the extra people liked to do was sit around for hours on end, talking and drinking alcohol. By now, David had come to realize that when these people drank, things often got out of hand. Arguments would erupt that quickly turned violent. For their protection, David and his brother Bruce would often be hustled off to a bedroom by their mother or an older sister. The boys would hear yelling and screaming, and fists would soon fly. It was not uncommon for David to hear someone scrambling into the kitchen, searching for a carving knife with which to defend himself or herself, or to attack someone else. David and Bruce would huddle together in the bedroom, sometimes for hours, until it was safe to come out again. It was at times like these that David envied Walkie. For almost 3 years now, Walkie had been living at the Anglican boys' home in the nearby town of Lower Hutt. He came home only during school vacations to stay with his grandmother, as he was doing now, spending the 2-week May school holiday at home. At the boys' home, Walkie told David there was always food to eat at mealtimes, and there were adults around who took an active interest in his life. As Walkie talked, David thought about his experience at the Otaki Health Camp 2 summers ago. Otaki was located on the coast of New Zealand's North Island, about 50 miles north of his home. One of the purposes of the camp was to provide good nutrition to undernourished children. David had spent that summer gobbling down 3 healthy and plentiful meals a day and playing on the beach. But the thing that impressed him during his stay in Otaki was the fact that he was surrounded by adults who seemed to genuinely care about him. And the thing he secretly liked most was the new toothbrush he had been given when he arrived at the camp. Every time his house mother asked if he'd brushed his teeth, David felt like he belonged somewhere at last. Back home in Mora, he could go a week without using a toothbrush, or soap, for that matter, and no one would notice. David imagined that the boys' home, where Walkie lived most of the time, was a lot like the health camp, only it ran all year long. It sounded to him like a good life, especially since Walkie got to play all kinds of sports at the home and at school. David loved any kind of sport. He and Walkie would play endless games of cricket with the neighborhood boys on the empty lot beside Walkie's grandmother's house. Much to David's disappointment, after 2 weeks at home, Walkie returned to the Anglican boys' home for the start of the winter term. David also returned to school, and although he didn't care much for schoolwork, being at school meant escaping from the yelling at home. And during the lunch hour, some sort of sports game that he could join was always being played, be it rugby, soccer, cricket, or softball. Each morning, David set out for school in bare feet, even on frosty mornings when the ground was crusted over with ice. His brother Bruce would trail along behind. Then, on Sunday, August 6, 1949, 3 months before David's 9th birthday on November 10th, something happened that would change his life forever. It started out like most other Sundays, with David scrambling around in the kitchen looking for something to eat, while the adults in the house slept off their hangovers. But around 10 o'clock, his mother